Welcome to Half 2-4. Today in the show, the official return of the most charismatic leader in football history. Jose Mourinho is back in Real Madrid. And he, by the way, swore his love to Barcelona. Julian Alvarez's crazy transfer, while Juventus is preparing a mega transfer of world champion Emiliano Martinez. Also today, why Rafinha and Rafael Leao refused Saudi billions, and what fateful decision Oliver Glasner made for the sake of a move to San Siro. We talk about all this and much more right now. Real Madrid has officially announced the appointment of Jose Mourinho as the new head coach of the team, signing a 3-year contract with the Portuguese. This is already the second arrival of the special one to the Santiago Bernabeu in his first spell. He interrupted the dominance of the Catalans and established a historical record, gaining the legendary 100 points in a season. And it was this man who once, with a microphone in his hands in front of a crowd of thousands of fans, shouted, "Today, tomorrow, and forever, Barcelona in my heart."
Hoy, mañana y siempre, con el Barça en el corazón.
Yes, you heard everything correctly. This is indeed Mourinho speaking, and he sincerely swore his love to Barcelona, working at that time as an ordinary translator in the Catalan club. That is, now Real Madrid is led by the former translator of the 𝗢𝗙𝗚𝗓, and here is how this behind-the-scenes period of his life actually looked like. In 1996, legendary English coach Bobby Robson led Barcelona and took Jose with him, as he himself did not know Spanish. However, Mourinho never translated the words of the boss literally. Jose had a physical education, coach diploma, and on-the-fly transformed the emotional instructions of Robson into strict tactical terms. Players recalled that the manager could speak for half a minute, and Jose explained it for 5 minutes, actively drawing setups on the clipboard. Robson fully trusted the assistant and soon made him an official assistant. The arrival of the Portuguese, who did not play football at a high level, was initially a shock for the dressing room. When Jose tried to make a tactical remark to defender Miguel Angel Nadal, he rudely cut him off in front of everyone, stating, "You are just a translator. Your job is to translate, not to teach me to play in defense." But Jose showed a fierce character and quickly won the respect of the leaders Pep Guardiola and Luis Enrique. They spent hours breaking down setups in the office, and Guardiola later recalled that Jose understood football at a molecular level. The night office tactical breakdowns in Barcelona at that time became a real cradle for the modern coaching elite, because in one room behind the setups sat future geniuses Pep, Luis Enrique, and Jose. When Robson left, new manager Louis van Gaal expelled almost the entire staff, but insisted that Jose stay, having spotted an analytical mind in the Portuguese. Van Gaal entrusted him with scout reports about opponents. Mourinho wrote whole volumes of analytics, which were so perfect that the Dutch specialist even allowed Jose to independently manage the team in matches for the Copa Catalunya, while he himself observed his work from the stands. It was during that period, during the winning of the Cup Winners' Cup in 1997, that Jose uttered that very emotional phrase on the balcony of the government. Who could have thought then that the former assistant would turn into the bitterest enemy of the Catalan club in football history? Now, the return of Jose Mourinho to Real Madrid for 3 years is an incredible and maximally emotional plot for world football. The story of how the former assistant of Bobby Robson and Louis van Gaal turned into the main nightmare of Barca has completely rewritten the laws of squad management. Jose proved that an analytical mind, born during the writing of scout reports in Catalonia, is more valuable than any playing past. His former phrase about love for the 𝗢𝗙𝗚𝗓 colors now looks like a wonderful irony of fate, because it was he who in his time gained 100 points and destroyed the dominance of Pep Guardiola in Spain. Madrid again gets a leader with a crazy, charismatic mentality who knows Barca from the inside. Juventus has started negotiations regarding the transfer of 33-year-old Argentine goalkeeper of Aston Villa and reigning world champion Emiliano Martinez. The Italian giant made the experienced goalkeeper its main target. Let us break down why the tourneys urgently switched to the Argentine after the collapse of the transfer of Liverpool star Alisson Becker, what a crazy sum is blocked by the Birmingham club, and what arguments forced Dibu to seriously consider this mega transfer. Juventus was actively looking for a new goalkeeper and for a long time tried to return Alisson Becker to Italy. However, the Merseysiders, led by new coach Andoni Iraola, categorically blocked this transfer. Intermediaries promptly offered the old lady the candidacy of Emiliano Martinez. The dialogue between the sides has already started, and the football player's agent is to arrive directly in Italy already this Saturday. Aston Villa has a strong position, as Martinez's contract is calculated until 2029. The Birmingham side will demand around 20 million euros for their goalkeeper. The main obstacle is the personal financial appetites of the goalkeeper. Martinez wants to receive around 7 million euros a year net. For the Turinese, who this season were left without the Champions League, this is a huge burden on the budget. Despite the obvious financial problems of Juve and its exit from the Champions League zone, an analysis of leading media highlights 3 reasons why Martinez should consider a move to Turin at all. Firstly, it is a crazy financial pressure on Aston Villa itself, which is under the threat of strict UEFA financial fair play rules regarding squad cost. The club is forced to unload the bill and is ready to sell the star at the request of Unai Emery. Secondly, the greatness of the Juventus brand, even in a state of rebuilding under the management of Luciano Spalletti, it is one of the biggest clubs on the planet. The opportunity to become #1 in Turin and lead the defensive line of the legendary Italian giant is a colossal career achievement at the sunset of a career, for the sake of which one can sacrifice one season without the Champions League. Thirdly, it is the desire of the player himself to get a new emotional challenge. Martinez has already won everything at the national team level, and in Turin, he is offered the role of the main leader of the dressing room and captain status. If the financial demands of the Argentine prove unbearable, Juventus keeps in view an alternative option in England. It is the 29-year-old Italian goalkeeper of Tottenham, Guglielmo Vicario. Vicario will demand a significantly lower salary, and the Spurs are ready to let him go approximately for 15 million euros, which makes this option financially more attractive. I think the attempt of Juventus to sign Emiliano Martinez is a very ambitious but squad-controversial step. On the one hand, the arguments in favor of the transfer are ironclad. Aston Villa is forced to balance the budget due to UEFA rules, and for Dibu himself, the Juve brand and the role of the absolute leader under Luciano Spalletti is an ideal final of a European career. However, paying 7 million euros a year to a 33-year-old goalkeeper is financial madness for Turin when Guglielmo Vicario is on the market for 15 million euros. Here it is worth recalling the story with Manchester United. Last summer, Martinez already emotionally said goodbye to the fans of Birmingham, and he was to move to the Devils. But his transfer to Old Trafford collapsed because the Mancunians turned on a cold mind in time. Manchester United carefully analyzed the risks and made a bet on the much younger Leemans, and did not lose. Leemans became officially recognized as the best transfer of the year in the Premier League and made a decisive contribution to the 3rd place of the team. Juventus should act just as pragmatically and instead of overpaying for the Martinez brand, turn attention to Vicario.
Thank you.
Real blew up the world transfer market, coming out with a special statement that the club sent an official offer to Atletico regarding the purchase of Argentine forward Julian Alvarez for the crazy sum of 150 million euros. Florentino Perez realized his pre-announced plan, trying to hijack the top asset right from under the nose of competitors and make the Argentine the new face of the Galacticos era. However, the management of Atletico instantly blocked this mega transfer, answering the Blancos with a categorical refusal. To give the green light to the sale of their goal scorer, they set a condition: full payment of the official clause, which amounts to the cosmic 500 million euros. For the Colchoneros, letting the world champion go to Real is a complete ideological suicide, so they demand $500 million. This principle and the crazy release clause sum are due to the fact that earlier Catalan Barcelona launched its assault, making Julian Alvarez its transfer target #1 for the summer. Joan Laporta was the first to send an official inquiry and laid exactly 100 million euros on the table of the Atletico management. The bosses of the Colchoneros rejected this 100 to million check, but this in no way stopped the Blaugranas, who are already actively preparing a new, improved financial offer. A huge trump card for the Blaugrana is the position of the football player himself. Julian Alvarez clearly made it understood to his entourage that his personal priority is exclusively Barcelona. At least this is what the media write, and he wants to move only to the Camp Nou. That is why the bosses of Atletico set Real a price tag of 500 million, probably hoping that the Catalans will be able to beat the offer purely at the expense of the player's own desire, but in the end we will see how it will be. Moreover, this madness continues further. After all, after Atletico publicly, through their social networks, humiliated Barca with its 100 million offer, now it was Real's turn. Immediately after the statement of the Royal Club, the official account of Atletico posted a screenshot of the Madrid Comunicado official, adding only a bunch of emojis that are simply crying with laughter, meaning they are just laughing at Real's offer. Next, the Colchoneros published an official explanatory statement in 4 points, which completely shamed and humiliated Perez. Firstly, they accused Real of cutting out a part from a recent video of the Pope where the pontiff confesses his love to Atletico. Secondly, they harshly emphasized, "You seem to have confused politeness with gratitude, so let there be no doubt we thank you for nothing." Thirdly, the club officially cut off, "We are not exploring and are not even considering any offers regarding Julian." And finally, they added a total mockery. Well, how can we not get along when you make us laugh even harder than Barcelona does? To cap it all, the Colchoneros advised Real to stop stealing young players from their club academy. My opinion? What is happening right now around Julian Alvarez is complete, absolute madness, which from the outside looks incredibly cool and keeps everyone in crazy suspense. But to be honest, in this wild media chaos and mutual humiliations on social networks, I am already completely confused myself, whether they will sell him to Barcelona in the end or not. Real Madrid has officially made an inquiry to London's Arsenal regarding the availability of 24-year-old Italian defender Riccardo Calafiori. Mourinho is looking for a versatile player who is able to close 2 deficit positions at once in the center and on the left flank of defense. Let us break down whether the Gunners are ready to start negotiations, which star of Manchester City is an alternative on Madrid's shortlist, and why this transfer maneuver promises to become the main saga of the summer. The transfer interest of the Madrid club instantly entered a hot phase. Gianluca Di Marzio notes that Real Madrid is currently actively working to understand whether Arsenal is ready to open the door at all for the sale of its leader. The Madrilenians have already made the first contacts with the player's entourage to feel the ground and find out the financial appetites of the Italian himself. The priority of Real Madrid on the market is clear and uncompromising. The club needs a world-class performer who can play equally effectively as both a central and a left defender. The profile of Riccardo Calafiori perfectly falls under these requirements. The Londoners once laid out solid funds for him, so negotiations with Edu and Mikel Arteta will be extremely difficult, as Arsenal has no acute financial need to sell its leading players. Parallelly, the management of the Spanish giant incredibly highly values the Croatian defender of Manchester City, Joško Gvardiol. However, Fabrizio Romano emphasizes that signing the Croat from Manchester will be catastrophically difficult. Manchester City considers the Croat an absolutely untouchable player of the starting 11, and the financial power of the citizens makes any attempts to hijack the defender almost impossible. It is precisely because of the crazy complexity of the deal for Joško that Madrid decided to act proactively and focused all its pressure on the London gunner. Saudi club Al Hilal has officially blown up the transfer market, sending insane in their scale offers to the Brazilian winger of Catalan Barcelona, Rafinha, and the Portuguese star of Milan's Milan, Rafael Leao. The Asian bosses prepared astronomical checks to take at least one of these performers already in the summer transfer window. The whole intrigue unfolds around the crazy assault that the Saudi giants prepared for Barcelona. They formed a transfer offer in the amount of around 80 million euros for the 29-year-old Senja Brazilian. Moreover, to convince Rafinha himself, he was offered a fourfold increase in his current net salary. The contract of the football player with the Blaugranas is calculated until 2028, and he personally blocked any hints of a move. The Brazilian is completely devoted to the ideas of Hansi Flick, despite the fact that the Catalans have just signed Anthony Gordon for 70 million euros to his position. Parallelly, Al Hilal attacked the Portuguese leader of Milan. The situation around Rafael Leão looks even more interesting. The 27-year-old winger publicly declared his intention to leave the Italian giant after the Rossoneri finished only in 5th place in Serie A. However, having received an astronomical financial package from the Middle East, Leão immediately answered with a harsh refusal. His priority is exclusively the English Premier League, where interest in him is shown by London's Arsenal and Manchester United. Both players made it clearly understood that sporting motivation at the highest European level is more valuable to them than any checks with a bunch of zeros. Friends, if you have watched up to this moment, then subscribe to the channel. It is not hard for you, and it is pleasant for us. And while you are subscribing, we move on. Milan is swiftly entering the home stretch in search of a new head coach for their team. Oliver Glasner has become one of the main candidacies for the coaching bridge of the Rossoneri. Moreover, the bosses of the Italian giant consider him both in tandem with the potential arrival of Ralf Rangnick and absolutely independently of his appearance in the club. Let us break down why Oliver Glasner has already answered with a categorical refusal to a generous offer from Dutch Feyenoord, and what behind-the-scenes steps the management of the Italians is preparing in the coming hours. The coaching question in the Milan office is unfolding with maximum speed. Oliver Glasner completely rejected the opportunity to lead Feyenoord, as his final and conscious choice was precisely the Italian giant. The Austrian currently gives absolute 100% priority to Milan, as he perfectly understands that he gets a unique and fateful chance to lead a top club of European scale. Matteo Moretto notes that the management of Milan parallelly plans to make contacts with other coaches in the coming hours to completely feel the market and have alternative options. However, the scenario that may finally shape up in the near future is precisely the appointment of Oliver Glasner. His candidacy completely appeals to Ralf Rangnick, which makes the Austrian specialist the leader of the entire closed squad list of the Italians, despite internal rebuilds in the team's dressing room. My opinion? The invitation of Oliver Glasner is a maximally pragmatic and systemic step for Milan. The Austrian has already proved on the European arena that he knows how to build ironclad match discipline and squeeze the maximum out of the available squad assets, and Milan should promptly close this deal instead of wasting precious time on empty calls to other coaches.